kind of event in the midst of a pandemic. So I'm going to do all the official thankings at 8:20 hours. So please don't miss it. After this last stage with the International Fora of Companies Europe, Latin America, this is a conversation between presidents of the different organizations between Europe and Latin America, the role of the new companies and the scenario of recovery. I have a couple of presential speakers here. Please come up to the stage. And Narciso Casado, Secretary of the FAIP, the Ibero-American Entrepreneurs, and Miguel Garrida is President of FAIP EIB. Take your seats. You can sit here in the first, and please keep your social distance. Clockwise. Marlene Estevez will be the moderator. She's a member of the advisory group of relations with companies of the Arbitrage and Mediation Organization Foundation. And we have also Ricardo Cusano online, who's president of Federacas from Venezuela. Fede Caracas, correction. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mispronounced the name, says the speaker. And we have William Matias Rodriguez, president of FAIP and Copador from the Dominican Republic. I don't know if they're online. And we also have José Medina, who is president of Coparmex, Mexico. Hello. And last but not least, Julio César Lestido, president of CNCSCD from Uruguay. Can you hear me?
Perfecto, buen día.
Perfectly well. Good morning or good afternoon. Good morning, Uruguay. Good afternoon, Spain. Okay, Marlene, over to you as moderator. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning from Latin America. It's a great pleasure to be with you here. Thanks to all the organizers, Madrid platform, the Ibero-American Secretary for organizing this in the midst of a pandemic. It's a great pleasure to be here. Presently in Madrid with you, Narciso, Miguel, José, William, Julio, Ricardo, virtually. So we're here now to speak about a very pressing and relevant subject. This is the conversation with the presidents of the top organizations in Latin America. So, because you're probably in agreement with me, during the pandemic we have lived very dire times, great tensions that have caused great economic contraction and shrinkage in the world. And to get over that situation, it is really relevant to have the task and role of the organizations, civil society and business organizations. So that is what we are going to speak about. We're going to focus on two axes, like, for example, the role played by the organizations of businesses. That is going to be very interesting. I want you to share everything that you have been doing during the pandemic, all the organizations, business organizations, what have you been doing to get over the crisis? And then, what the commitment is from our side, all our sides, because from Latin America, the Latin American side, the role has also been very relevant. So, first of all, I'm going to hand over the floor to José Medina Mora, president of Coparmex. He warned us that he has to leave at 7, no problem. José is founder of the advisory group of Soluciones, that's a wholesale company technological company. In 2007, the magazine Expansión named you as one of the most important businessmen in Latin America. And EY, Ernst & Young, distinguished you with the title of most important and relevant businessman. So what have you been doing from Coparmex? What have you been devising to get over the crisis that we are living? Jose. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Marlene. Greetings to all the colleagues that are there present on the stage, Narciso, Miguel, and then I also want to greet William, Javier, Jose, Julio. Okay, I'm going to answer your question. What we have been doing from Coparmex during the COVID crisis, I would subdivide that in two stages. The attitude of Coparmex towards the member companies of the Confederation of the Business Organization of Mexico, and then the reply, the response towards the authorities. So, first of all, we designed a strategy starting by the member companies of Coparmex. We have 7 axes accompanying them, trying to get over the crisis. So, first stage, it is urgent to work towards the end of the crisis together with our members. That was really essential. We had to negotiate a reduction of the salaries in order to save jobs. That was paramount, really, because it was a temporary crisis, and in as much as economic recovery is our goal, we have to bear in mind that kind of solutions. And then we had to make the most of the technology, and regarding the members and the solutions that we offered. Thirdly, liquidity is also essential. We started with companies like, for example, for a car, petrol is really the first thing that a car needs to run. For a company, it is liquidity. We have to keep our portfolio, and for that, to that end, we need liquidity to get over the crisis, which we know is temporary. The fourth is innovation. We consider that during a crisis, there's always opportunities, and we really encourage them to innovate in their processes, in their business. The fifth axis is the innovation of processes, increase innovation to streamline processes and head towards economic recovery. Sixth, the development, and seventh, the social responsibility. Once you have been in charge and you have been responsible of layoffs, you have to be socially responsible. We organized the national conference for the economic recovery, knowing that the entrepreneurs really don't have all the answers for the problems, so we invited all kinds of people in posts and different positions to discuss what possibilities we had in front of us for the economic recovery. And that resulted in 68 ideas, from which 25 projects stemmed in order to implement those 68 ideas. Let me just mention by way of example one, which is the solidarity wage or salary. Authorities should pay 50% of the salary of the three deciles, lower deciles, and the company should pay the 50%. And then promoting the rehiring, recruiting people that were laid off, and the solidarity insurance for people who lost the job. They should at least receive during 3 months their last salary. That's what we did towards the member companies, as well as the authorities that want to cooperate in the reactivation plan. Thank you. Thank you, Jose. It's really comforting to hear all those ideas that you launched. Excellent ideas, all of them. We take note of them. Narciso, Permanent Secretary of TAPE, International Director of CEI, member of different councils and organizations like the Arbitrage Latin American Federation. How have you lived this situation, Narciso, from TAPE? What initiatives have you launched from CEIB in order to get over the crisis? Good afternoon. Good morning. It's a great honor to be here, side by side with my president here in Madrid, the president of the Spanish Business Organization, and many other positions from other organizations, and Marlene also. We will speak about later about something that was consolidated during the crisis. It was really an opportunity to improve. I want to start with the positive side, because we all know what the negative side was, and to know and get to know other organizations, business organizations. I'm really convinced that the business organizations haven't been more organized and in contact with other sister organizations than during the crisis. We saw that, we witnessed that every week from the inception and the beginning of the first news we got from Europe regarding a health issue that could be very big, and we thought about I called it like the natural human antidote facing the moments in which we are isolated. It's very easy. It's information. Start to look for what nobody tells you. When Rebecca Greenspan at the beginning of the great number of webinars we have had, she said the following: whenever we find a solution to the answer to the questions, all of a sudden they change the question, and we're really puzzled. So we started by organizing the different federations, organizations. We are 24 organizations, the most important ones in Latin America, and they all stem from the great world lobby, which is the European Federation of Business Associations. We had our tools, our instruments, and we started to work together with the Chinese, the European organizations. We had the information, and I told my team we have to share this information. If this problem is so huge as they are telling us, it's really essential that we, all sister organizations that maybe are going to reach that point at a later stage, they should have this information. So the first thing is information. After that, a great deal of commitment. I think that if we can highlight something from the business organizations and corporations in general, is that they managed to be there to really accompany all citizens together with the organizations and institutions as well, that private-public partnership has been essential. And they have devised different solutions for productivity of the businesses, for example, to manufacture hydrogels or equipment for hospitals, or even things as basic and essentials that I think that dignifies really and represents very well the example of the businesses, which is solidarity. I spent a great deal of time writing reports on sustainability, and it's really amazing to see how from many countries in Latin America, and the Vice President of SEIM will explain that, they started doing that and working with solidarity, and we're still doing that, by the way. We try to get out of this problem, a health problem that we really hate to think that it can become structural. So there was a great deal of commitment, and there was great leadership from the business organization side. I'm going to leave it there. Well, not bad, not bad. Many ideas. How important it is really to hear, listen to you speaking about. When we thought that we knew all the answers, all of a sudden they changed the questions. That's a very important lesson to learn, and this pandemic really taught us that we have to be updated, constantly updated, in order to change. Nothing is permanent now, and everything is fluid and changing. And with this great uncertainty that we are living, we have to really learn to live with it. Yes, totally. And I think that I don't know if we have really studied like 15, 20, 100 masters in a very short time. We had a meeting with the ambassador of Colombia before the pandemic. It really looks like a great time ago, but it is true that it hasn't been that long, and I used to travel every week. Now we don't travel at all. We travel very little, and we have learned to maintain that tension or that link between ourselves and the rest of the world, bringing together solutions. There's a great word that was very trendy, a buzzword during the crisis, which is resilience, providing solutions to the crisis. And I think it defines perfectly well and very nicely the situation. We have all cooperated in a streamlined fashion, different organizations, the older ones, the young ones of ENG, the Latin American Permanent Secretary, and we did whatever we do best, defend, protect our member business organizations, and do everything possible in order to maintain the relationships working and running, as well as with trade unions looking for solutions that for a problem that we really would hate to see it become structural. Yes, of course, and you carried out excellent analysis, and I really testament to what those studies have achieved. There are really good opportunities, and you have to really turn around the situation and see it from the positive angle. From that commitment that you speak about, it showed really in our country and in Latin America in general. And what has been really passionate about the crisis was to see the commitment and the solidarity that makes us grow as people, and makes us take the necessary steps. Now, Ricardo, President of Fede Cámaras, Venezuela, lawyer as well. I would like to know what have you done? How have you lived with the situation from Venezuela?
Sí, muchísimas gracias por la invitación.
Thank you for inviting me. We are really sorry we can't be there in Madrid, but the distance is a meeting point. Well, for really nobody, especially in Latin America and in the Latin American context, as well as Portugal and Spain, there's no secret that it's no secret that the structural crisis of human relationships and social and economic crisis hit very hardly our country. So when on the 13th of March, the crisis and the pandemic was announced officially, it came as a blow. But we already had already meetings with the civil society in order to face the situation. There was, however, a great eruption or disruption, because we understood as well that COVID could be a unique opportunity given its dimensions in order for the Venezuelan people to have meeting points or reference points, and we really needed to understand what the private companies were, or what the meaning was. There were multiple dimensions. We had the opportunity with this official sector, the ones who exercise the symbols of power. It could have been distant or intermittent or inexistent even previously, but I have to say that from the grassroots, proposals arose, and really there were proposals that allowed us to really solve the issues and the impact of COVID. We did go in depth with studying the problems together with the social partners, trade unions, the academic world, the students, because in a country with such a great civil conflict, consensus is paramount, and those kind of meetings had been taking place over time, and at the end of the day, the solution has to go through common solutions. Now, regarding those relationships that we considered from other countries, we learned from conflicts in other countries like Tunisia, what that meant for the business organizations, for citizens, when they reached a Pacific solution. So it's a multifaceted problem that allowed many societies to overcome those problems and reach a peaceful solution. And we went and we studied in depth those solutions, looking for a social solution in the first place. Putting the citizen first. There's no company that has success in any country where the citizens have no buying capacity or power, and in a situation of near poverty. So respect for peace, that's also essential. So we developed a project that we submitted to the government. It was submitted on the 27th of January. There was no intention to market 6 million doses of vaccine destined to the less favored parts of the population. So 3, 4, 6 million people. And then, on the other hand, guarantees for the peace process, and building a framework that would allow to bring about solutions. Obviously, we have to bear in mind proposals that include the salary problem in our country, which is not easy to solve because it goes hand in hand with the political problem. In the framework of peace, obviously, we are a very oil-rich country, and there was a crisis related to the consumption of oil, and that had to be considered as well. And lastly, just to sum up, we initiated a perspective of the paradigm shift in which the Venezuelan society is immersed, and trying to really leave the dependence from oil, and what role do private companies play in that situation in economic activities that can pull from the economy and drive the economy, that in a situation of a social and labor fabric that should be favorable to change. So the world is looking at us, and we have to establish relationships with companies, but considering the fact that workers and trade unions and business organizations have to work together to promote solutions that take into account the deep problems that this country faces, but we have tried to do that with pride and with humility and humbly from all the social sides that have really the trust of the citizenship, public companies and Fedecamas, and the private organization, the private businesses organization, as a partner that includes in its DNA the empowerment of the citizen, and they have to be owners of their destiny in order to make the country develop and reach development that we lack currently, and through different organizations, including the World Labor Organization.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. We, of course, share your values, the key role that companies play, this multidimensional role you've made reference to during your intervention. Companies, as you said, are key players of change, of collaboration between public and private sector. The empowerment of citizens is also key in order to achieve peace so that businesses can thrive. William Matias Ramirez. There you are. Good morning. He is the president of CEIP and Copardom in Dominican Republic. William, you are going to play a key role because you are going to chair the FEIP and collaborate with the Ibero-American Permanent Secretariat, and you are going to lead the whole organization and the 14th edition of the Ibero-American meeting in Santo Domingo. That's going to be a very important event, and you have important work ahead of you. William, we would like to know your vision, the situation in Mexico, the commitment that was mentioned, this multidimensional approach in companies. What's your vision about the role of companies after the pandemic? Thank you, Marlene. Hello, everyone. The interpreter apologizes, but the sound is not clear at all. The interpreter apologizes, but the sound is very poor.
Tienen un rol protagónico en la generación de valor, porque nosotros vemos la creación de impuestos, empleos y actividad económica en general, que a su vez moviliza la sociedad para el bienestar. Ese es el rol principal de nuestras empresas, más aún de nuestras organizaciones empresariales, porque es el aspecto de vital importancia de la recuperación. Naturalmente tenemos retos a superar, donde empresas y organizaciones debemos solventar las necesidades más básicas de nuestros colaboradores, que se enfocan principalmente en salud y en mantenimiento y formalización del empleo, ¿no? Debemos ser más que nunca nosotros capaces de generar propuestas de valor con todos nuestros stakeholders, donde la empresa esté en el centro de esa recuperación económica siempre sostenible. ¿Por qué? Porque, bueno, un ejercicio responsable de la empresa, de las organizaciones empresariales, es fortalecer cuanto antes el retorno al trabajo en condiciones seguras y de ahí utilizar las mejores herramientas que tenemos a disposición, que existen de forma abundante, para que ese retorno pues, sea prolongado en el tiempo y que podamos recuperar ese ritmo que teníamos en 2019 y que nos ayude de alguna manera a cumplir con los ODS y la Agenda 2030. Las empresas naturalmente tienen que volver y tienen que volver de forma, como decía ahí, repetitivo, sostenible. Esa recuperación no se enfoque solamente en un aumento del gasto público, que es insostenible, sino que...
We are very sorry, but the sound is very poor. The quality of the signal is too poor to interpret.
Con tal de que no fuera necesaria una reforma fiscal inmediata para hacer frente a los efectos de la pandemia. Otro ejemplo también es que el sector privado, principalmente el sector financiero, el sector minero, apoyaron todas las iniciativas del gobierno en la compra de adquisición de vacunas. Por eso, el día de hoy, tenemos un gran porcentaje de nuestra población vacunada y en proceso de vacunación, lo cual obviamente será la puerta de entrada para los mercados en esa nueva normalidad que se avecina. Si somos capaces de hacer funcionar ese engranaje, apoyando la innovación abierta y sostenible, pues la innovación va a materializar a través del emprendimiento una nueva coyuntura para adquirir el volumen y notoriedad que requieren nuestras empresas en el día de hoy. Desde Copardón nosotros estamos apoyando y siendo parte activa de ese diálogo tripartito que se está dando con trabajadores, empresariales y gobierno para de alguna manera y de gran comunidad pues salir de esta crisis.
We are very sorry, but the quality of the sound is too low to translate.
Podremos tener la oportunidad de, según lo aprendido en la cumbre y encuentro anterior, pues poder potenciar esos cambios que necesitamos y más que todo orientar adecuadamente las discusiones que se den en el marco de la cumbre y encuentro empresarial para que podamos tener una recuperación pues muy, número uno, sostenible y número dos, pues eficiente, ¿no? En el tiempo. Así que esos son los aspectos que nosotros pues, vemos como principales en cuanto al rol que tienen las organizaciones empresariales.
Thank you, William. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues and we couldn't listen to you properly. We've missed most of your talk, but if I understood you correctly, you said it is absolutely key to generate sustainable companies on the long term, to apply this value proposal that you are proposing at your organization, something that you will propose during your next Ibero-American Summit. Yes, that's right. Thank you. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. Julio César, President of the Commerce and Services Chamber of Uruguay. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. We'd love to know your ideas in Uruguay, your initiatives at the Chamber of Commerce and Services in Uruguay, considering that entrepreneurs and business people should play a leading role. Julio, I'm sorry, but we can't hear you. Yes, now it's working. Thank you. Yes.
Perfecto. No, bueno, yo les comentaba, en primer lugar, quiero agradecerles por la invitación.
First of all, I would like to thank you for your invitation.
Comentarles qué fue lo que nos pasó y qué hicimos como entidad gremial, que es la Cámara de Comercio y Servicios del Uruguay.
We at the Chamber of Commerce and Services started to work right away. We are the oldest chamber in the country. It has a history of 150 years. So we have worked hand in hand with different stakeholders throughout all development processes in the country. What's happened to us since March last year? When the pandemic arrived in Uruguay around the 13th of March, we weren't ready. Companies had to be honest because we just didn't know what we were about to encounter. We felt fear and uncertainty, and therefore the economy was brought to a halt right away. And companies started to apply contention measures, and companies began to get ready for a huge storm, and we didn't know how long the storm was going to last or how serious it was going to be.
Les podría decir una cantidad de inquietudes de empresas que incluso no solamente las asociadas.
Many companies were very concerned about the situation, about the pandemic, both inside our business organization and outside. And many companies started to implement contention measures. Businesses would come to us in order to get information and to know what to do, how to get ready to face the future during the pandemic. The first thing we did was to think about health. Health as the pillar of all our activities. I must recognize two things. Our government has led all processes during the pandemic in Uruguay, in all sectors, and I think we have achieved good results. Even though in the second stage or wave of the pandemic, the infection rates are quite high. But in any case, we had good leaders, and we still have during the pandemic. And in the first part of the pandemic, we just tried to respect all the provisions provided by the government, all healthcare provisions. Trade unions tried to follow the same measures suggested by the government. And therefore, we achieved good results at the beginning. And then we started to implement contention plans. We began to receive questions, and therefore we started to think about measures both for the public and for the private sector in order to continue with business activity. We started to think about opportunities, and thanks to that, the business sector was able to go through the storm. Some sectors were hit very hard, such as the commerce sector and the tourism sector. Just to give you an idea, during the pandemic in Uruguay, after a year of pandemic, many jobs have been lost. As many jobs as the jobs that were lost between the 5-year period between 2015 and 2020. Huge impact in just 1 year. The pandemic has hit much harder the employment sector than the financial crisis in 2009. Therefore, we started to devise measures and provisions in order to go through the storm, through the pandemic. Fortunately, we vaccinated an important part of the population in my country, so we start to see light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope to resume business as usual as soon as possible. Government authorities opted for responsible freedom. What do I mean by this? The government asked citizens to behave responsibly. And thanks to that, little by little, businesses continued to work, even if at a slow pace. We all tried to find ways of keeping employment. Employment is absolutely key. In Uruguay, we have meetings every 2 years in order to negotiate salaries, and we worked together with trade unions and with the government in order to set up a bridging period in order to maintain jobs. We see signs of recovery. The figures are not like the figures in 2019, but the government and workers and businesses have all worked together in order to continue with our activity during the pandemic. Yes, you are absolutely right. Businesses, the public sector, and citizens have to work hand in hand. And of course, it is important not to lose jobs. And your approach was absolutely key. Miguel Garrido, President of FEIM, President of the Confederation of Businesses in Madrid. You've worked for many years in the public field. Miguel, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today. What role do employers play to put an end to this crisis? Good afternoon to all of you present here, and good morning to all of us, all of the people that are following us from the other side of the Atlantic. This crisis has surprised us. It has hit us very hard, and it has paralyzed many people in Spain, as well as in many other countries in Europe. When we encounter such an unexpected situation, such as COVID-19 at the beginning of last year, we were just paralyzed at the beginning. There were too many needs to cover, and the public sector didn't have the necessary capacity in order to fulfill all needs. We needed personal protection equipment, masks, hand sanitizer, respirators, oxygen, and as Narciso said, society started to display solidarity, and that was an efficient way to do things. The private sector began to play an important role in such an important and difficult situation, because international mobility was brought to a halt, and the private sector showed a huge degree of solidarity and was very efficient, and in many cases the private sector could replace the lack of capacity of the public sector. The public sector usually moves slowly. The public sector has to respect many laws, and companies instead started to provide the resources, their knowledge, their logistics, their transportation means, and started to solve their own problems, and private companies started to provide solutions also to the public sector and to society as a whole. We have a good example here, the emergency hospital set up here at IFEMA, at a Congress venue, and in just 3 days, thanks to the collaboration of the private and the public sector, a whole new hospital was set up, thanks to the help of building companies, logistics companies, and we were able to provide 1,000 hospital beds. 2 of them were ICU beds in order to help all those people that were sick and couldn't go to hospital because hospitals were full. We were able to channel all the solidarity that was generated at the time. Computers were provided to children so that they could continue to attend classes, and the private sector was very agile because it started to work right away in order to keep the supply chain moving, especially in the food industry. There was a lot of tension because many people went to supermarkets and bought too many products. And in that case, companies and business organizations did a good job, and telework was applied. Remote working was applied. New regulations were set up because we all understood that there was a priority. That is, that the country had to keep on moving, that we all had to keep on working in order to overcome the healthcare crisis. After that, companies started to assess the damage due to the pandemic. Julio just said a few minutes ago that we didn't know how big the crisis was going to be or how long it was going to last. Nobody could have foreseen at the beginning that the crisis would go on for over a year. A huge crisis, by the way. And as I said, we had to solve many problems, liquidity problems for many companies. And COE, our employers' organization in Spain, started to work hand in hand with the government in order to solve all these issues so that the crisis would not provoke damages or too much damage to our business fabric. We've worked a lot on labor issues, on different types of contracts so that people could be temporarily laid off and get back to work afterwards. Many solutions were found. We worked a lot in the financial field, providing loans to people who needed them. The financial and banking industry reacted very well to so that the credit would flow and payments could continue to be made, and in order to avoid a devastating effect, we also worked on fiscal measures to apply moratoria for companies. And then we've also worked a lot in order to apply flexible solutions. The key tool is flexibility. You have to adapt to the situation, and sometimes that's difficult due to the existing laws and regulation. If we have time, we can talk after that about the summit we celebrated at COE, our employers' organization. We provided all our expertise to benefit society.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Very, very nice words at the end. If something moved us, everybody, was really that unprecedented solidarity that really materialized in very concrete deeds and facts that really has to be more present in a society that in a dire situation with very harsh facts is able to really provide for others and do unimaginable things. That should be the flagship we have to carry. There's a very nice expression in English that I like, which is "we walk the talk," says the speaker. I think that was an example of what society is able to bring their employers and entrepreneurs to a situation where they really help out the rest of society. There were companies, national or international, that honestly I think they moved us almost to tears when we saw what they did, and that is what makes us really take stock of what happened and think, okay, if they can do that, I can do as well the same. And then you mentioned a great deal of legal measures. There are many lawyers and counselors here in the panel, be it presential or virtual. And the lesson we can learn is laws are worthless if they're not implemented. And I think that's what your best achievement was, that you really put the governments against the ropes and really made them implement the measures that were required when there's a need for liquidity, for example. What kind of laws and bills are we going to adapt and amend to take into account the new situation? And then I would like very much to close with a commitment by each one of you, employees organizations, entrepreneurs organizations that you represent on the future of Latin America. What role do you want Latin America to play in the future? Down the road, what role do you want to play? Yes, Marlene, I think it's very easy to reply to your question. We are really persuaded that we have to stick together. We have to keep working together for the region. Between CEGIP, FIGE, and CEIP, we created a slogan that you probably have heard, which is more Latin America. Curiously enough, in the Andorra summit, there's a phrase that was uttered by the King of Spain, and which was, "You can't say more with so few words." And I think that's the lesson we can extract from the situation, that we have a very well knowledgeable entrepreneurs organization, very prepared young people, students. They are not the future, actually, they're the present. And the business organizations really articulate very well society. So my message for the future would be, let's keep working together, let's stick together, and there's a great deal to do yet between Latin America and Europe, which is one of the other subjects of the session. Let's reinforce those commitments that we already signed and have celebrated between Europe and Latin America. Let's move on and really make progress with other institutions like Mercosur. There's a thing that hasn't moved much, like the Latin American mediation and arbitration. If there's something that we can do in key of Latin American terms, that is arbitration, mediation. I think that's one of the most relevant articulation aspects that exists across the world. But we have to really be ambitious and foster the Latin American summits. We just put an end to the Andorra summit, and we have to make the most of the tools that we have at hand, digitization, to make to get over crisis like the pandemic and the future ones maybe, and we have to really tackle the situation of having more powerful companies, more legal certainty, better commitments, and better leadership, both political and from the entrepreneurs, and always count on the assistance of CEGIP, backing and really doing our best with what has been asked us to do, really pledging for our countries, our region, our companies, our society, and that's what I think companies do, after all, corporations and businesses. That's what they do, I think, well, in Latin America, in Europe, and in every region of the world. I think that's, I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, after all. Yes, I think America has already been discovered. We just have to get inspired from, be inspired from very nice projects that we heard here, and really impregnate yourself from that Latin American spirit with really very nice projects like the arbitration Latin American forum. If there is a conflict, it's a conflict, and you manage it well, there's something, there's an opportunity for growth for both parties, and I think we have to be aware of the human and business capital that we have, and really value that, because sometimes we see other jurisdictions and we look up at them, and we shouldn't. We should really be proud of what we do, what we achieved, what our society represents in Latin America and Spain and Portugal, because that's what makes us be proud. And what comes out of this conversation, to my mind, is really commitment, trust, be confident, and really do projects down the road. Yes, follow up, be constant. The fact that 2 weeks after the Latin American summit was organized and took place in Andorra, with the backing of companies, we have to insist, fundamentally, 2-3 weeks after we are here in Madrid, present in Madrid, really trying to bolster the biggest hub internationally between Europe and Latin America, and the fact that in a few months we will be preparing the summit in Dominican Republic and organizing webinars, etc. I think that's the way to go. I think people who know me really know I don't settle. I'm never static, and I like to do many things at the same time, and I think there are many things that can be done. In Andorra, for example, in the first meeting, there were 35,000 persons that participated in one way or another in our really offer of really work, because after all it's basically work agenda. And I was talking to Carlos Morales, and he told me about the figures of Madrid platform, and they're impressive. So if we want to go down that road and exchange and cooperation, streamlining efforts, etc., you go even farther away than if you travel alone. I think those are the keys for the future. Great deal of PPP, public-private partnership, and really social dialogue. That's key. Also in Spain, we have really witnessed that during periods in which, in the past, there was no dialogue with governments. Miguel knows that perfectly well. The tables, the meetings with trade unions were open 24/7, and we just have to bolster innovation, foster innovation, and retain your talent. If there's something present in Latin America and Europe, is really you have to maintain and retain your talent and make them stay. And we are cooperating with Sahib and FIGE. I could speak for hours, but there are people that are more knowledgeable than I am. Yes, thank you, Narciso. I think you mentioned something that is very important: attitude. All these events are possible, especially because there are people behind that, and that's there you have the proof is Andorra, the summit. William, what's the sentence you would want to highlight this commitment from the business organizations to really make the most of the situation in Latin America? To be honest, more Latin America, the phrase that devised Saib, I think it's a very good one. We have to go further, maybe, and we have to make the most of the situation that came all of a sudden. And we're very sorry, but the sound is very bad, and we keep losing the speaker.
El potencial que tiene Iberoamérica, que necesitamos desarrollarlo aún más y todavía mejor. Esa sería la visión de nosotros como lo veríamos.
Thank you. Thank you. Ricardo, over to you. What would you like to highlight?
A ver, sin duda alguna es un gran reto, ¿no? Al que nos
Well, what a
enfrentamos.
challenge we
Y
have
más hablar
behind
después de
us,
Narciso,
before us, sorry. And
narra
after
muy bien todo el esfuerzo de
Narciso,
empresarios iberoamericanos.
who spoke very
Yo creo
well.
que
Okay,
quiero
let
resaltar
me
que
try.
nuestro
I would like to
norte,
highlight that
desde Fede Cámaras aportando hacia
Fede
el
Cámaras,
iberoamericano,
what we
que
can
tengamos una Iberoamérica más incluyente
bring
y
to
más
the
productiva. Y
Latin
esa
America-Europe
inclusión y productividad
relationship
vaya de la
is a
mano
more
lo que
productive
es el
and
desarrollo
interactive
de la
relationship
libre y competitiva
along
empresa
with the
con relación a la
free
democracia. Porque también, sin duda alguna, nos tiene que
corporations in
ocupar, y
relation
más que
with
preocupar, nos tiene que
democracy.
ocupar como empresarios.
We have to be
Tributar a la
concerned
democracia.
about
Cuando tributamos a
that.
la democracia
We have to
es porque
be
estamos construyendo
tributary
acuerdos,
to the
alianzas, y le
democracy
damos fortalecimiento
because
al
we
tejido de
contribute
confianza entre los
to
actores
the
sociales,
fabric
porque
of
promovemos
trust
y
of
le damos
the social
hacemos que se erguida
dialogue
esa
and
columna vertebral que tiene que
the
liderar
stakeholders
nuestras
that
relaciones,
have
que es
to
el
be
diálogo
the
social,
leaders
y
of
sobre todo un diálogo social no
this
solo para las
process,
reivindicaciones
social
sociales o
dialogue,
para las condiciones de productividad, sino
not
para el
only when it
modelo de
comes to
desarrollo. Y un
productivity, but
modelo de
also
desarrollo que no es solo es
regarding
deseable,
the
que no solo está
development
llena de
model,
buenos deseos, sino que está llena de realidades, de
not just
obstáculos que
full
nos
of
hacen entender y
wishes,
estudiar
but
y
something
concluir cuál es ese futuro probable.
feasible that will
Y en ese
make us
futuro probable
understand
necesitamos
what is
empresas
the
que
probable
profundicen su relación con la
future.
responsabilidad
And
corporativa.
they really have
Y
to
creo que algo muy
dwell
importante
into
para
corporate
Iberoamérica es
responsibility, which is
que
something very important
cambiemos,
for Latin
entendiendo
America.
esa
We have
relación
to
democracia
change,
libre
we have to
empresa, que
understand the
cambiemos esa
relationship
cultura de
between
reparto y
companies
algunas veces
and
clientelismo que
society that
nos ha acompañado en
sometimes is
algunos momentos de
based
nuestra
on the
historia.
idea
Ahí
of
está el gran
sharing
reto, construir
or dividing.
construir y
This is
compartir
the
un
challenge. We have
territorio
to build
que sea
a
para
way,
nuestra
a
gente, para
territory
nosotros, y que nos
for
permita
our people, for
interactuar
citizens
competitivamente
that
con el
allow
resto
us
del
to
mundo, un cambio
interact with
cultural
the rest of the
local,
world
una cultura
and
empresarial que se haga mucho más visible,
business
interconectar nuestras
fabric
naciones
that
y
is more
enfrentarnos a ese
visible
reto
and really face that challenge
de las
of
diatribas
the
de conceptos ideológicos, pero donde sobre todo hoy nos conseguimos con
obstacles and
esa coyuntura
problems
de elegir
and
si nos vamos única y
exclusivamente
exclusivamente
that
quedando
lead
en manos de
nowhere
Adam
and
Smith y del
really
mercado, o si tomamos rienda de nuestro propio
do we
futuro
want to
para acelerar
really
el sector privado
get
en
hold of our
sus
future
capacidades y por supuesto su
or
impacto
do we
positivo en
want
lo
to
social.
miss
Para
the
eso vamos a tener que
opportunity?
construir
And
estrategias, capacidades y
we need
seguramente estaremos mucho más
structures,
cercanos a ese futuro
capabilities,
probable de una
and that will
Iberoamérica
bring us closer
incluyente
to
y
a
productiva.
very
Es parte de lo
inclusive
que
and
nos toca,
productive
haremos todo el
future
esfuerzo
for
por
Latin
tributar a
America.
ello.
We have to
Nuevamente
make the
queremos
most
agradecer
of this
a la
situation
CEGIP, a la
and
COE
really
y en especial en
put
lo
our
personal a
effort
Narciso por el
into it.
trabajo que ha
Thank
hecho
you,
para mantenernos unidos en estos momentos, para
CEGIP,
mantenernos unidos
FIGE,
como
and FEIB. Thank you for keeping
con el
us
orgullo de ser
united with
empresarios y
great
entendiendo que somos empresarios y
pride
somos futuro.
of
Gracias.
being business people. Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. Yes, indeed. I think that's what you inspire and what you reflect. And I wish we could see that at other levels, that pride of being business people, entrepreneurs. Julio César. I'll hand over the floor to you. How are we doing with time? Are we okay? Julio César, what would you like to highlight? What's your pledge regarding the future of Latin America? Thank you. I would say that after listening to Narciso and Ricardo, I subscribe 100% of what they said. Well, there has to be some disagreement. Well, if you give me the floor, something I have to say. I really agree 100% with the two speakers before me, but really something that is really remarkable is that there's a great paradox. We are victims of the crisis as well as the society. There was a reference made to the Andorra summit, the pandemic. Meant that 2,700,000 companies disappeared. That's a big toll to pay for pandemic. and the society. But at the same time, we are victims, but we are protagonists as well of the recovery. It's important the role that we have to play in this sense. And I would say, just to sum up, and Narciso and Ricardo already mentioned that we are living in a situation, a very changing situation in the world of employment. We have to change the paradigm and change the relations. And we really have to reach efficiency that will allow us and bring about competitivity. Innovation and technology are really key to that end. And digitalization. I come from, I'm rather old school, I'm 72 years old. When we speak about change and modification, I really fear some things because some people want to escape change when they fear change. So I think we have to really face everything we have before us and really dive headfirst into the innovation and technology that will make us free. We need free companies, free businesses that will allow us to flourish and develop our society. But this requires, and that's like a chain for me, the skilling and reskilling of workers. Ricardo mentioned that, and I agree. Reskilling is a cross-cutting and overarching need in our society. We have to work together with the state and the governments to promote and foster education everywhere and the culture of work based on vocational training. We can only achieve that if we change our mindset, saying that we are part of the solution, not part of the problem. Change of attitude, firstly, and based on dialogue. Social dialogue is fundamental. And I will end with two words: dialogue and empathy. I really have to understand and feel what others are going through. If I don't feel that, it will be very difficult to reach solutions. We have to be on both sides, my side and their side. If we don't do that, it will be very difficult to overcome the situation. We will be optimists, and we will be able to really solve the problems together. Thank you. Thank you, Julio. Well, attitude, dialogue, empathy, you said. Okay. I think we have to make out of empathy, and I agree with you, we have to extrapolate that to the legal sentence or phrase that the ignorance of the law does not exclude you from its observation. I mean, you have to really be aware of what the laws are. And let's close with you, Miguel, with your words and your vision on that commitment and role of Latin America, so essential to build a future. Very briefly, because I'm not going to go against anything that has been said, because I agree with 100% of what has been said. I just want to emphasize something. In this situation that we have lived these months, we have witnessed the fact that we are weaker than we thought, and facing trend of populism, some kind of populism, and reacting by isolating yourself, that's not the solution, because together we are stronger, and only together will we be able to solve the problem. Not long ago, the King of Spain was present in a meeting with the Spanish employers organization, And he reminded us that we are part of an organization together with the Latin American employers, and I commended him for remembering that fact. I think this is paramount because really we are together, we are talking about our problems, we are getting to know each other, and together we can get farther away. And Ricardo already mentioned the fact that we are really proud to be entrepreneurs. We have to really vindicate the fact that we are part of society after all, and we have to think about that when we want to solve critical issues regarding society. We realized from the employer side that we have our own weaknesses, very much the same way as society does, and there are many companies, was mentioned before, 2,700,000 companies disappeared in Latin America during the crisis. We are part of society. Let's remember that. We are completely committed with the creation of wealth for society through employment, through competitivity that forces us to compete and be better. And that commitment we have to really acquire it and really address it. And sometimes we realize that we failed to do that in the past. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. I want to commend you all. Yes, you nailed it. You nailed it because it's 1929. And we did not really quarrel. And I think what I bring home is that together we can go farthest. And I think this kind of meetings are fundamental. I think that Carlos was right. Carlos, it was very courageous, really, to organize this kind of meeting with exchange of ideas. How can we help each other? How can we do better? And how can we grow? That mistake we made in the past, we have to avoid it. Really, in these fora, we have to learn from each other, listen to each other, and try to really value the fact that we are really proud of being business people, entrepreneurs, and the fact that we can communicate and create some dissemination of our results. There's really great ignorance about or lack of awareness about what activities were made and taken during the pandemic with those law initiatives, with all the problems that were pervasive during the crisis, and really how to tackle those problems like lack of face masks and medical equipment. Really, we solved those problems, and you were a great part of the solution, and we should really take stock of that, those initiatives to be better and really be more Latin America, as William said, because with you guys as leaders of the organizations, we will manage it because we're stronger together. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, Marlene. If Madrid platform should, right now, award prizes for the best timing and keeping in time, the prize would be for you, Marlene. Really. Congratulations. So please vacate the premises from the left. We go on. There's a very little left, really, to say goodbye to Madrid platform. We're going to do it really with great conclusions. Let me just invite Pablo Adrian Hardy, responsible of economy and enterprises in CEGIP. Big welcome for him.
Exacto, fenomenal. Muy bien, además me lo habéis puesto muy fácil. Antonio Magraner, secretario
Antonio
general del
Magraner,
y Narciso Casado,
Secretary General of
permanente del
ENG,
CI, por favor.
and
Muchísimas
our
gracias.
other
Aplauso
colleague.
fuerte para ellos.
Thank you
Ahora
very
sí,
much. A big round of
para dar
applause
paso
for
a estas
them.
palabras finales, estas conclusiones con las que
Let's
vamos
listen
a
to
casi
the
finalizar, como decía,
conclusions
esta primera edición de Madrid
to
Platform.
conclude
Ya sabéis que a
this first
continuación,
edition of Madrid
no desalojamos
Platform.
la sala porque va a tener lugar casi
Don't
de
leave
forma
the room
inmediata la
because
clausura
right after this
institucional
session
oficial
there
del
will
evento.
be the
Muchísimas gracias.
official closure of the event. Thank you.
Muy bien. Bueno, yo la verdad que básicamente lo que voy a hacer es lanzar 3 agradecimientos.
I would like to start by thanking the over 30 speakers and moderators that have given us their time and have helped us to identify the key aspects we have to focus on, key messages. They have given us their ideas on 2 fundamental aspects in order for the region to recover: commerce and investment. During this forum, we've seen that collaboration and international cooperation is key between all stakeholders, governments, companies, multilateral bodies, investment banks, and other stakeholders, keeping in mind a key objective: improving the daily life of our companies, our SMEs, and our citizens. In second place, I would like to thank our partners. Here we have 2 key partners: Narciso Casado, Permanent Secretary of the Latin American Council of Businesses. You are a great partner. We work a lot with you between summits for the benefit of Latin America. And then, Antonio, my dear Antonio, you are leading over 500,000 entrepreneurs, young people that show us their eagerness to do things. We have the greatest generation of better prepared people in Latin America. That's an opportunity we should not miss. And then I would like to thank Madrid Platform, and especially you, Carlos. You've opened to all of us the doors of your house, and you have allowed us to provide all our messages to all parts of Latin America. As people say, the world is in the hands of courageous people, and you have been very courageous and also very generous for sharing this space with us. And I would like to thank your team. I know what it takes to organize such a forum. So now that we are all part of the Madrid Platform partner, from Madrid we can go to heaven, and from heaven to Latin America. Thank you very much. Let me apologize for not standing up. I just can't stand up now, but in any case, the important thing is to be here with you in this face-to-face meeting. Everything has been said already. As Narciso said, we've talked about many things in so many webinars and lately in presential events since some time now. At AFIGE, at the Association of Young Entrepreneurs, we are very thankful to Madrid Platform, to its president, Mr. Morales, because he has been very courageous to launch such a big hub between Latin America and Europe. He could have said, oh, let's do it just on the internet. But no, he was courageous enough to organize this event this way. business people have to be part of the solution and set the example and show everyone that a forum can be held, like we did in Andorra, despite all the difficulties. And of course, I wish to help my oldest brother and my other oldest brother. I'm a single child, but I consider them my brothers. These two organizations have allowed young entrepreneurs in Latin America to be present throughout the region of Latin America and also on the side of the Atlantic. Together, we become stronger. And in order to be together, we have to establish alliances and partnerships. FEHIB are collaborating with public stakeholders and other organizations, and we all know that we have to make progress through alliances. The pandemic has shown us that public-private alliances are absolutely key. These alliances between companies and the public sector can be extrapolated to any kind of organization. We keep building alliances, and as I said, for young entrepreneurs, this is a historic opportunity because our organization is starting to have a voice in important summits in Latin America and also in other fora, such as Madrid Platform. I often tell people that organizations are more alive than ever. We cooperate and collaborate more and more throughout the world, and we have to make good use of all our alliances. In the end, the Latin American region is very fortunate. It is composed of 700 million people who have a common language, we have a common origins, and we have common objectives. We have much more in common than we think. And I believe we are taking the right steps forward, not to create the future, but the present. We are weaving a good network because we have so many young people that are eager to conquer the future they want, and thanks to the work of organizations such as yours and platforms and fora such as this one, we can all thrive. It is important to continue to benefit from all opportunities. We are fully available to help. We want a stronger Latin American region because it is going to be better for all of us.
Muy bien, pues casi ya acabando. Me ha tocado la parte seria.
We are just about to conclude. I have some notes here in order to be a bit more formal. And I wanted to tell you that we are very satisfied with the outcome of this first summit or forum between Latin America and Spain. Madrid has positioned itself as a business hub between Europe and Latin America, promoting dialogue and exchange between both sides of the Atlantic. I would like to thank the Town Hall of Madrid and its mayor, as well as all collaborating agents for facilitating and providing us this great environment that has allowed us to meet. Institutions and companies have met from more than 20 countries. We've been followed via streaming by so many people throughout the world, and we have strengthened our bonds between Europe and Latin America. I would also like to thank my colleagues and partners with whom we can count. You always work with us in order to promote social and economic development in the Latin American region. I would also like to thank all teams that have worked here, Antonio Campero, Sergio Soler, Santiago Fernandez, and others. I believe we've done a good teamwork. This meeting has been the biggest event of its type after the state of alarm, adapted to the current circumstances. And I would like to acknowledge the work by Carlos Morales, who has promoted this great idea, Madrid Platform. I would like to thank his whole team as well. We've been very fortunate to be with you, Carlos, since the beginning. I think we had lunch together a few months ago, and we decided to organize Madrid Platform. I would also like to take this opportunity to commit to our future work, because Madrid Platform will continue to be celebrated in the future. Europe and Latin America have a huge potential. We have to keep in mind that weaknesses of some people are the strengths of others. It is important to highlight that we have to continue to collaborate and not so much to compete, because we have to favor exchange and commerce between both regions. That's why employers' organizations in Europe and in Latin America work together, and we collaborate with CEIG and FIGE. Cooperation in capital letters. In the case of Latin America, we carry out an analysis of common priorities by entrepreneurs and employer organizations in Latin America. We want to boost innovation and digitalization, promote employment, infrastructure in all regional value chains, promoting plans in order to retain talent and support the internationalization of our SMEs through access to funding. In these last few days, in these premises, we've heard the speakers talk about excellence, about strategy, about the state as a key stakeholder to provide stability, equal opportunities, equal rights, equal justice and progress and future, equity, employment, efficiency, efficacy. That is the perfect combination, efficiency and efficacy. Companies do evaluations and assessments as well, education, structure, which is part of another important concept, infrastructure. And here I'm talking about the human infrastructure, which has to be cared for and promoted. We have to be oriented towards citizens and our young people, who are the present and the future of our countries. Another message: European companies and Latin American companies working together. I would like to also thank all panelists, authorities, experts, and representatives of businesses that have intervened during this forum, sharing their expertise on the situation in both regions. And I would like to thank the representatives of the Employers' Organization of Spain, Mexico, Uruguay, and others. And last but not least, I would like to also thank the audience who has been present both here presentially and also via streaming in different time zones, which is not easy. We've followed and taken note of all of your remarks through social networks. We hope to see you again next year. We will continue to work on the strengthening Latin America and Europe. And before concluding, I would like you, Carlos, to formally close this forum. This is not part of the script. I wasn't supposed to talk now. Thank you. Fije, Antonio, CEIF, COE, Spanish Employers Organization, Narciso. Yes, that meal we had at the Taberna La Daniela was very productive, because then we've celebrated the forum. Pablo, thank you very much. Thank you to Miguel. As I said, I wasn't supposed to speak now, but in any case, I'm very thankful. I think there are two messages to highlight. Thanking companies is key. We are part of civil society. Companies are here to help others and to help our country and our environment, Latin America and Europe, thrive and recover from such a difficult situation. All administrations are eager to help. The region of Madrid, the town hall of Madrid, the public administration, all of them are present here. We've all understood that we need to work together, and businesses play a key role. Yesterday, I was telling two companies that have helped us to organize this forum. Thank you, and thank you once again. And I would also like to thank you for organizing this session. You've talked about digitalization, energy transition, company law in a changing world. I'm very thankful to all panelists. There have been 355 panelists and 52 sessions simultaneously, and more than 5,400 people have followed us via streaming. And therefore, I think that we have achieved great results. Every time I'm put in front of a microphone, I just keep speaking and I can't stop. But to conclude, I'd like to thank you once again, and like Narciso said, this is just the beginning of a path we are going to follow for many years. Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for your final words. Please leave the stage. We are just about to conclude this first edition of the first Business Hub between Europe and Latin America. Please don't leave, because we are going to finish the forum in just a few minutes. I think the representatives of all institutions are arriving as we speak.